everybody, and welcome to the Sensibly Cynical podcast. My name is Sean, and we are inching closer and closer to episode 200. I'm so stoked for that episode. I will be joined by Dolores Gibbs. Noob and Z from Our Reviews Will Kill You will join me. But that is then, and this is now, and this is episode 197 of Sensibly Cynical. Today's guest is Kimberly Dawn. She is an amazingly talented singer-songwriter. Her latest single, titled Dear John, was released on July 29th and is available everywhere for streaming. She talks about how she was raised, dives into some of her musical influences, and even talks about how social media has changed society as of late. So, here's my chat with Kimberly Dawn. All right, joining me now, she is an amazingly talented country singer-songwriter out of Nashville, Tennessee. Kimberly Dawn, what's going on?
Hey, how are you doing today?
See what I did there? I rhymed a little bit, you know.
You did. You did.
Are you from Canada, LA, Nashville, all of above? Talk about your history, like with music and stuff.
All the above, but I was actually born and raised in Canada. So that is really where my roots really come from. That's Canada. I'm from Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
Small little farming community, a population of 1,000 people called Vauxhall. So my parents are still in that little town. Actually, they're getting ready to move from that town. They just sold our farm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I saw the, let me get the quote, saying goodbye to the only house I ever knew. So that is the lyric off your new single, Dear John. So yes. I assume that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Growing up down there?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we grew up in this little, very humble upbringing, 1,000 square foot little house. There was 10 of us in this little house, one bathroom. And it's the only home I ever really knew growing up. I mean, I really literally can say from the time I was born till I was an adult, that's where I lived.
Yeah. So how did you get to the States?
I knew that I wanted to. So growing up on the farm, I always felt like I was kind of gypped a little. You know, I would, see the magazines and watch TV shows and feel like I deserved to live in the big city. So I decided I wanted to come to the States. And my mom's an American. So she was born and raised in Southern California. And so I have dual citizenship. So even though I was born in Canada, I still had my American citizenship. And so I always said from the time I was a little girl, I was going to move to the States, and I did.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get to Dear John, which was released on the 29th, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about this song, 93. I assume you mean 1993?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I saw that video on YouTube. We got like 35,000 views. How did that song come together?
You know what? I wanted to write a nostalgic song. So I fell in love with country music when I actually started hearing the 90s country music. And that's really where, I grew up listening to every genre of music you can imagine, even to the point where I listened to Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash. And, I still listen to a lot of those artists because my parents liked them and listened to them. But it wasn't until I really heard that 90s country sound that there was something that kind of just kind of was like candy to my ears. And I was like, And so I wanted to write a song just kind of about the 90s, just kind of going back and talking about that and the nostalgia that comes with the 90s when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
There really wasn't, I guess there might have been cell phones, but not really, not like how things are now, or social media. That's the bigger thing, because when you think about it, social media was not really a thing in the 90s.
It wasn't a thing. Let's just get to the point. Well, it wasn't a thing until late.
Payphones, and remember to see like a payphone, anyway, I still think even in my small town, there's certain things that they still have. It's just like, So I feel like I just wanted to write about that, like back where things were a little more simple.
Back in the day. Now,
Yeah,
why 1993? Is there a specific reason for that year?
it rhymed.
Hey,
Rhyming
I love the honesty. I
It
love the
was a good
honesty.
rhyming scheme. When we were literally writing that was like, it actually was a great rhyming scheme.
uh, so how did you get your break? Talk about how your career like really took off.
I always grew up singing. I sang in church and I always loved music. And I had moved out to LA and I was doing music and the acting thing. I was doing the whole entertainment thing out in LA. And I really wanted to do the country thing, but all the producers out here were like, well, you can't do country if you live in LA. You have to be
Mhm.
in Nashville. And so I kind of was more doing the pop thing first, still writing. I was writing, which
Right.
I love writing. And then I would say about 5 years ago, I kind of said, you know what? I want to do the country thing. I don't care. I'm going to figure it out. And, I'm writing songs as it is. It's like you can write a song, you can make it whatever you want it to be, with
Hmm.
a song. And to be honest with you, I'm so glad that I jumped into where I really feel at home, like I really do with country music. It's me. And everybody who's heard my pop stuff and then they're hearing my country stuff, they're like, wow, you really found your niche. And I said, yeah, country's really where I wanted to be. And so, I really did jump in and I started going to Nashville a lot and spending a lot of time there and writing and just really, I mean, Nashville feels very like at home for me. And I
Hmm.
think it's because it had, even though it's a big city, it's a small town vibe. It's like everybody knows each other. It's, honestly, business is done on a handshake. I say that to people, like business can be done on a handshake,
Hmm.
it's just a very, kind of like how I grew up, simple. And I feel like a lot of the people that have been there a long time, they're still that way. They're very
Right.
simple. They're not caught up in all the other stuff.
Yeah. Now, I agree with that. You know, I grew up on country music too. I'm from a small town in Florida, and we had maybe I don't know 2,000 people, if that. And my mom was an Illinois Midwestern girl, and she grew up. Shania Twain was my favorite, but
Yeah.
who were some of your influences, like musically?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first actually heard Garth Brooks,
Hmm.
that kind of was like that sound. And I was like, who is this? Like, this is, and, he kind of brought that sound. I mean, listen, Dolly Parton has always been a big influence for me. Love Dolly Parton. Stevie Nicks.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, there's so many. I love Shania. I mean, she's my Canadian girl, Of course I love Shania. She's the one that really created that that country pop
Hmm.
crossover. I'm saying pop
Crossover, yeah, yeah.
country pop, that crossover. So I feel like she's done a lot for, country music.
Without Shania Twain, there's no Taylor Swift. Like you know
I
what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
There's no Taylor Swift without Shania Twain.
Because Shania, she brought that. That was
Hmm.
her. She introduced that to the world. It was like, and
Hmm.
at first, in the country world, they were like, mm-mm. They didn't want that sound. It wasn't as authentic as they thought it should be for country. Um,
Hmm.
so it's cool. Like, yeah, I mean, listen, I grew up listening to, like I said, so many genres. It's so funny. I actually put on Glenn Campbell today,
Hmm.
and I was listening to Rhinestone Cowboy. And I was just like, for some reason that song, I was like, I want to hear that. I want to listen to that song. I've never really listened to all the lyrics to it. And I wanted
Hmm.
to really listen to the lyrics. Such a great song and lyrically written and melodically, and it's just such an amazing song. So anyway, that's a little side.
What's what's your thoughts on Taylor Swift? Did you follow her crossover?
I think Taylor Swift is so talented. And yes, I've loved her from her beginning stages, when she was doing just kind of the country, but she always had a little bit of pop element to her stuff,
Hmm.
you know. And I think she's so talented. Look at how she has like transitioned over. You
Yeah.
know, she still
Yeah.
goes back and forth, but she still goes
Right.
back and forth in that. And I just think she is a phenomenal songwriter. Um, everything about Taylor Swift, and she deserves the success and the accolades that she gets because I think she really is talented.
Yeah, she did a lot of relationship songs, but that's a lot of music. It's personal experiences and
It is, and when you write and when you put music out there, you want for the listener to feel like they can relate to the song. So
hmm
even though she was writing about relationships, it was what she was going through. Other people have gone through that, and I think that's why songs are so um what's the word I'm trying to say?
relatable.
Yeah, and not only that, and it's also like one person may say, "Oh, I hate that song."
Hmm.
Another person's like, "Oh, that's my favorite song. It's so amazing." So it just depends on, who's listening, but when you have a majority of the audience, everyone in the world has had a relationship and go bad at some point.
Mm.
And so she was able to really carry that on for quite some time.
Yeah.
She'd change it up. Each song was a little different about something. That's a great songwriter. How many heartbreak songs have been written? Millions.
Yeah, yeah. Probably more than a million.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's been so many. It's if you can take another twist on it and write it your
Mm.
way, and hopefully those that are listening to it, it resonates with them.
Yeah. Let's talk about Dear John. So those listening hopefully have streamed it already.
Yeah.
And I assume the pun of the song is the mower, right? John Deere,
The
John
tractor.
Deere, or the tractor, John Deere.
Yeah.
So talk about the creation process of the song.
With this song, I recently had found out that my parents had sold the farm. So this was a little over a year
Mhm.
ago. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh. And it kind of was right as I was getting ready to go into this writing session. And we were just talking. And that was one of the things I kind of brought up, because I grew up on the farm. I drove the tractor, I was out in the fields. For those of, in your audience that understand how it works with farmers, we have irrigation pipes, and those pipes are
Mhm.
what, water our fields and the crops. And so I used to go out in the fields and I would move literally these steel irrigation pipes, um, stand there while they would roll down the middle of the field
Mhm.
so they could water the crops. Um, and I would also help my dad during, harvest time, driving the tractor,
Mhm.
swathing the fields, the wheat fields. So it's really like for me to talk about John Deere tractor. I really can tell you, I drove tractor, I worked in the fields, and I did it all.
So what's the meaning behind the song? Like, what do you want the listener to take away from it?
I feel like this song, I wanted it to be like we all came from somewhere. We were all raised somewhere, and those roots are what shape us to who we are today. And that really was the premise of the song, is to really kind of say, like, wherever you came from, you're the person you are today from where you were raised. And that's
Hmm.
kind of the premise of the song. That's what I want people, and I want people when they hear it, it brings them back to where they grew up and where they were raised.
Hmm. Now, what do you got planned moving forward? Do you have things in the works, EP, or what do you got coming up?
Yep, I'm in the studio. I've been recording. I'm still recording more music. I'm writing, because that's a process too. You want to keep putting out the best songs. So in order to do that, you need to keep writing. So I'm writing, recording. Hopefully, going to be playing some shows soon. I'm planning on playing the Bluebird actually at the end of August. That I'm excited about. Yeah, so just kind of, like I said, working on new music. Like I said,
Yeah.
right now, just kind of riding this wave with Dear John, and getting a lot of good feedback with it, which I'm happy about. I feel like it's resonating with people. And that always makes me
Hmm.
happy is when someone feels good when they hear a song. Because I always say music is healing. And I said music could, uh, fix wars. If we all communicated in song,
Hmm.
there would be no wars, there'd be nothing. It would be music's very healing. So if this song makes people feel happy and good, then I did what I wanted to do with the song.
Hmm. Hey, do you mind if I clip that and put that on Instagram? What you just said there?
No, you can
Because I
absolutely.
feel like I feel like that message you sent, people need to hear that.
I literally say it all the time that people will hear me say that because I'm like, music is healing. I'm like, if we communicated in song, there would be no wars. I mean, because how can you be yelling and getting mad at someone when you're singing and communicating? Music, you
It's
know.
true. It's true. Do you perform live locally in Nashville? Is that where you're currently at, right?
Yes, I do. I do sometimes perform live. Lately I've been really more focused on, like I said, I've been writing a lot and I've been in the studio a lot. But trying to get more shows and really kind of getting out there. So,
Hmm. Do you got any good stories from when you first started? Anything funny you can share or any stories
oh
in the
gosh.
music industry? Just pick a
Yeah.
random one. It doesn't got to be anything
So I
major.
remember there's a group called Wilson Phillips, and I remember hearing one of their songs, and I thought they were great. I loved Wilson Phillips. I thought they were great. Fast forward, I ended up opening for them in Los
Mm.
Angeles, actually, and that was like just a very cool, kind of surreal thing to happen. And I always tell people, you never know how powerful your mind is when you actually really like think about those things, about, things that you want for your life or, your aspirations. I truly do believe in like, man, you can manifest those things into your life. So it was kind of like one of those things like, wow, I'm actually opening up for Wilson Phillips.
That's awesome. Were you nervous?
I was, but it was actually a great show. And I met him after, and they were great, and they were very complimentary, and it was very cool. Just obviously they've been in the business a long time, and so it was a very magical moment, I'd say.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, Kimberly, thank you for being on the podcast today. Um, Once again, you can go ahead and promote your newest single.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, my latest single, Dear John, you guys can stream it on Spotify, Apple, any streaming site. And please follow me on all my socials. I'm on Instagram at official Kimberly Dawn. I'm Facebook, Twitter, all of that good stuff.
Hmm.
I'm even on TikTok, by the way.
Oh, TikTok. Oh, talk about how social media has changed the business in your eyes.
Oh, I mean, listen, I've had a love-hate relationship with social media because I feel
Hmm.
like it can be very draining.
Yeah.
But I also see the positive effect that it can have on people, especially when you are vulnerable and you're sharing what's going on in your life. Because I feel like social media sometimes, not as much anymore. I feel like people are being a little more, transparent about life. Like everything isn't perfect because nobody has a perfect life.
Well,
Um, Go
yeah, I
ahead.
just think people are mean, and they it can be mean, and
For
it's
sure.
a way for them. It's a way for them to. It's like if their life sucks, they can make other people's lives suck too. And
Right. And I've
they
had
use
to learn
Twitter.
that.
They use Twitter and pardon my language. They use Twitter and shit to, you know.
Yeah, no, I've had to learn that because I'm very sensitive and I would never do something to intentionally ever hurt anybody. And when
Mm,
people will say hurtful things, I've also had to learn that, you know what, they're not happy. They're just wanting to make you unhappy. And so I'm all about putting out love and kindness. and supporting everyone, and that's what I do. And so I feel like social media has been a good place for me to be able to do that. And I really try to be that positive force in the world, just positivity. But like I said, it can wear on you. And I feel like there's always like the newest thing to jump into. Instagram keeps changing the way that they're doing things, but now they've realized they have a lot of disgruntled people. And I think they're trying to go back to the way they were before instead of trying to be TikTok.
Yeah. So I was
TikTok is
thinking that the
TikTok.
algorithm like is crazy.
Yeah. So, but yes, I feel like there's a lot of good that can come out of social media if
Hmm.
people want to put out the good,
All right.
you know.
We'll end on that note. Awesome. Kimberly, thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
have a good night.
You too. Thanks for having me. I really
Yeah, no
appreciate
problem. No problem. Have a good one.
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. There you go, everybody. Kimberly Dawn. Her newest single, titled Dear John, is once again available everywhere. Spotify, Apple, the whole nine. Thank you for always supporting Sensibly Cynical. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to promote the heck out of episode 200, which is coming up in a few weeks, I believe. Have 198 and 199 lined up. And so the promotional tour will begin soon. And trust me, you will not want to miss episode 200. Check us out on Twitter at Cynical Sensibly, Instagram, Sensibly Cynical Pod, and you can check out our Facebook page, TikTok, Sensibly Cynical, YouTube. I'm trying to build YouTube. So go to youtube.com, type in Sensibly Cynical, and voila. I have audio versions of episodes, the video of my chat with Kate Watson, and much more. That's it. Please stay safe and take care.